Friends, in this video, let's discuss a beautiful short poem, The Thought Fox, written by the English poet Ted Hughes. Well, he was an English poet, one of the best poets of this generation, one of 20th century's greatest writers. Hughes was married to the American poet Sylvia Plath from 1956 until her death by suicide in 1963 at the young age of 30. When young, after university, while living in London and Cambridge, well, Ted Hughes worked on many jobs, such as a gardener, a night watchman. He also worked at London Zoo as a washer-upper, a sort of a cleaner, a person who cleans the different areas of a zoo as well as the animals. And this job offered him plenty of opportunities to observe animals at very, very close quarters. This might be one of the reasons why Ted Hughes uses plenty of animal imagery in his poems. Ted Hughes thought of his poems as animals having a vivid life of their own. Remember, Ted is also called an animal poet. For example, look at his poems like The Howling of Wolves and the Jaguar. The jaguar symbolizes the power of the human imagination. I think we can start our poem here. The Thought Fox by Ted Hughes. Oh, it's a beauty. A marvelous poem about poetic imagination, about the process of creative writing, about how a poem takes shape in the mind of a poet. In 24 lines, remember it's a very short poem, 24 lines in simple English. In 24 lines, the poem tells us how, at the moment of inspiration, when the spark from heaven comes, well, how it happens. The process of writing poetry happens in the mind of the poet. This is what he tells us in this poem. Now, for that, Ted Hughes uses a very, very powerful imagery, an animal imagery, the imagery of a fox that gently appears at night, at midnight, completely silent. The poet, all alone, sitting at the window. First appears the nose of the fox, sniffing, touching twigs and leaves. This is how the spark from heaven first appears in the mind of the poet, like a fox. Let's take a closer look at the poem. Remember, Ted Hughes, the poet, is seated at his table, trying to write a poem. It is midnight, 12 o'clock. At night, the 0 hour, he's all alone. So, here we go. The Thought Fox by Ted Hughes, stanza number 1. I imagine this midnight's moment is forest. Something else is alive. Beside the clock's loneliness and this blank page where my fingers move. Look, the poet says, I imagine this midnight moment is a forest. This midnight moment, this time of the night, 12 o'clock at midnight, it's a forest. Something else is alive. Something else is alive means already there is something alive and there is something else that is alive. So two things must be alive. What is the first one? The first one is, of course, the poet's mind, imagination. That's very alert. That's alive. But as far as he is concerned, he's all alone. The entire world is sleeping. There is no sound. There is no sight. Nothing. Something else is alive. Beside the clock's loneliness, well, there is a lonely clock hanging on the walls. And this blank page, well, he is sitting in front of a blank page, a blank sheet of paper where he is trying to write the poem. This blank page where my fingers move. His fingers move. He is trying to write, but he can't write. So, this is it. So, this is the first stanza. Stanza number 2. Through the window, I see no star. Something more near, though deeper within darkness, is entering the loneliness. So in the first stanza he said, something else is alive. Coming to stanza number 2, through the window. So the poet is sitting at the window and he is looking out. I can see no star. So it is midnight, 0 hour. Not even a star can be seen in the distance. But something more near, though deeper within darkness, is entering the loneliness. Remember, it is complete loneliness. He is all alone, except for the clock and the blank page. So the poet is lonely. Now, something more near is entering the loneliness. What could be that? With an ordinary vision, you can't see it. You have to look very, very sharply, very carefully. Because deeper within the darkness, something more near is entering the loneliness. Well, his mind was forest. It was completely dark, completely lonely, no light, no sound, complete silence. And here, something is entering his mind in the darkness. If you look very, very carefully, you can see that something is entering his mind, the darkness of the mind, the darkness of the forest of the mind. So this is stanza number 2. Now, here is stanza number 3. Cold, delicately as the dark snow, a fox's nose touches twig and leaf. 2 eyes serve a movement that now and again now and now and now. So look at the repetition. So bit by bit, slowly, something is coming. Now cold, delicately, cold and delicate as the dark snow. Look at the use of the opposites. Dark snow. Snow is white, but dark snow. A fox's nose. And he has started seeing a fox's nose. Now what is it doing? The fox's nose touches twig and leaf. Dry twig, dry leaf, it touches. So there is movement, there is action. So at the beginning there was no action. Now there is action. 2 eyes. So in the dark, he can see 2 eyes. 2 bright eyes he can see. 2 eyes serve a movement. 2 eyes moving slowly, moving towards him. That now, and again now, and now, and now. Look at that. The repetition of the word now. It is for effect that he repeats it. So it is coming closer and closer and closer and closer. So this is stanza 3. Here is stanza number 4. Starting from stanza number 3. 2 eyes serve a movement that now, and again now, and now, and now, sets neat prints into the snow between trees, and warily a lame shadow lags by stump and in hollow of a body that is bold to come, across clearings. So stanza number 4. What does it do? It sets the paws of the leg, the feet of the fox. They set neat prints into the snow. So the poem is gradually taking shape. Footprints have started appearing on the snow. Sets neat prints into the snow. Between trees, because the fox is moving. Now, footprints started appearing between trees, and warily, very, very cautiously, not quickly, not very fast, very, very cautiously, a lame shadow. A shadow of what? A shadow of the fox. It is very lame. It is coming very, very slowly. Lags, very slowly comes forward. By stump. You know, the part of the tree that remains after it is cut. The stump and in hollow of a body. In hollow of a body that is bold to come. So, first it was the nose, then it was the eyes, and then the shadow, and now the whole body. So, the poem, a complete poem, has started taking shape in the mind of, in the imagination of the poet. Now, the body that is bold to come, it is bold to come across clearings. You can see in the forest, you know, some clear area. So across the clearing, first it was night and it started appearing, the nose, the eyes, the shadow, now the entire body of the fox. So this is stanza number 4. Here is stanza number 5. So in the last line of the 4th stanza we saw a body that is bold to come across clearings, an eye. Now there's an eye. A widening, deepening greenness, brilliantly, concentratedly coming about its own business. Now, it is not just a lazy fox. So across clearings, across the open areas in the forest, there's an eye, a very sharp eye, a widening, deepening greenness. Why green? Because it shows fertility. So something is going to be produced, something is going to be created, something is going to be born. Green, fertility, the color of fertility, brilliantly, very bright, concentratedly. It is coming. Oh, it is coming about its own business, to continue doing one's usual business. So it is going to do its own business, coming about its own business. So this is stanza number 5. The poem has started taking a beautiful shape. And now stanza number 6. Till with a sudden sharp hot stink of fox, it enters the dark hole of the head. The window is starless still. The clock ticks. The page is printed. So the fox moves till with a sudden sharp hot stink of fox. When the wild animals come near, we can feel the hot stink, the peculiar smell of the animal. So it comes forward. The fox comes forward with a sharp, hot smell of fox. It has come near. The full fox has come near. It enters where? The dark hole of the head. The dark hole. Was there a hole in the head? It was hollow because there was nothing. It was empty at the beginning. Until now the head was empty. But now the fox, it has entered the dark hole of the head. Now HOLE, hole, could be the whole of the head. WHOLE, it could be that. That is, it has filled the entire part. It fills his mind. So his mind is now complete. At the beginning it was empty. It was hollow. Now the poet's mind is full. It is complete. So it could be whole, HOLE, or it could also be WHOLE. Remember, the window is still starless and the clock still ticks. So there is no star. The clock still ticks. At the beginning, the page was empty. But remember, now The page is printed. The page is now full. A poem is born because his mind is full. Ideas, the sparks from heaven, came one by one, little by little, drop by drop. It came and it has filled the mind. The page is now printed. The poem is born. So this is stanza number 6. So this is The Thought Fox by Ted Hughes. As I said, a marvelous poem about the process of creation, the process of creativity, the process of how a poem is born in the imagination, in the mind of the poet. Isn't it beautiful? Yes, a beautiful poem, isn't it? Right. So when you look back at the poem, the 6 stanzas, the 24 lines, the poem tells us about poetic inspiration and the process of creativity, the process of how a poem is born in the mind of the poet. The poet uses a powerful image of a fox at midnight, moving in darkness, appearing before the poet slowly, bit by bit. First, the nose, then the nose smelling a twig, a leaf, the paws, the feet of the fox, setting neat prints into the snow, moving through the trees and the stumps, then an eye, then 2 eyes, then the stern, resolute steps, and finally the hot stings of the fox that enters the dark hole of the head. The window is open still, and the clock ticks, and the page is printed, and a poem is born finally. This is the poem. It is filled with poetry. The poem is filled with poetry. This short poem of 24 lines, it teems with poetic techniques. In every line of the poem, the poet Ted Hughes has used some poetic technique. Take a look at the poem. There is no form. There is no particular form or meter. There is no set rhyme scheme, no meter. It is an irregular rhyme scheme. But take a look at the first line of the poem. I imagine this midnight moment is forest. The repetition of the m sound, imagine, midnight, moment, alliteration, repetition of the same consonant sound. Look at stanza number 3, dark snow. So 2 opposite ideas, 2 contradictory concepts in a single phrase. Dark snow. Snow is something white, dark is the opposite. Dark snow. This is oxymoron. Now, look at the same stanza. Stanza number 3. The repetition. Another poetic technique. Now, and again now, and now, and now. The use of the poetic technique, repetition, for effect. Look at stanza number 5. The second line of stanza number 5. A widening, deepening greenness. Deep green. The repetition of a vowel sound, E, assonance. And look at the rhyme, ness, greenness, business. Take a look at stanzas 3, 4, 5, and 6. Look, the last line of 3rd stanza flows into the first line of the 4th stanza. And the last line of the 4th stanza, it just flows into the first line of the 5th stanza without a break, without a punctuation mark. So continuation of the same sentence from one line to another. This is known as enjambment. And look here, another poetic technique. Stanza number 3, line number 3. 2 eyes stands for what? The 2 eyes stands for the fox. So a part for the whole. The part of an animal, 2 eyes, is used to refer to the whole animal. So 2 eyes. This is known as metonymy. Metonymy. And look at stanza number 6, line number 3. The clock ticks, tick, 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 tick. This is known as onomatopoeia. This is all about understanding our short poem, The Thought Fox by Ted Hughes. Now friends, please remember, I'll also give you a companion video with various types of questions and their answers in simple English. I will also try to explain the questions and the answers in Malayalam. You will also be able to download the notes free in PDF format. So make use of it. Best wishes.